Hi all. I appear to have a kind of a schizophrenic glow where half my face is in shadow, which represents my evil mischievous side. This side's kind of angelic. Um, Everyone can hear me, I hope. Somebody give a, yeah. Oh,
Yes.
that's great. Thank you very much. Okay. I won't keep you much longer from the delicious lunch which we're not providing. You have to make your own, which is yet another skill I've learned in these challenging COVID times. Um, It's been brilliant to see you all. It's been absolutely great. That may sound a bit mawkish, but actually this has just been so energizing, and hopefully everyone feels the same. Um, I have the job of kind of trying to sum up and identify some recurring themes and stuff like that. And I kept having to remind myself to take notes because I was just listening enthralled all morning. There was a great balance between the sort of the overarching issues that were more at the beginning of the seminar, and then the more specific events and responses. Um, and it was, I suppose, unsurprising but welcome to see the clear desire by our speakers to help, and how that's been mediated in various ways, shown throughout the morning. And it was very welcome to see the importance noted of the kind of the people, maybe the kind of the unsung heroes and people who are behind the scenes and aren't always kind of front and center in the limelight, but deserve great credit because so much of what they do is so important. Um, there's several, I suppose, clear themes which I've tried to distill, and there's a little bit of shoehorning in here, but I've tried to look for kind of commonalities across the breadth of what were very different talks. I've probably missed something. You can take umbrage at that if I'm not giving you due credit. It's not intentional, and give out about me behind my back, okay? So a few things are clear. It's there's a lot of similarity, but obviously the profession, as was really shown today, there are very different nuances between the different areas of librarianship, but there are commonalities. So the first one was the challenge of the transition we've been in. Alan started off, and he really ably illustrated this. And I liked personally the way he broke it into kind of two pressure points: the logistical aspect maybe of moving online, but then the kind of the assistive aspect, helping our broader communities, whoever they are. And these communities are different, for all of us. They're different in demographic, they may be different in need. But what was really evident then, following on from Alan, was the presentations, that the desire to help. I thought Aoife, her presentation, there was quite a stark challenge there in terms of loss of space, redeployment of staff, while also trying to keep a service that, is life and death matters. Keep it running. A huge amount of time noted today on issues of communication, matters of communication, and how important it is that staff are kept appraised of what's happening. And this, certainly in our experience in Maynooth, I think this is a perennial challenge. And yet the current situation has only exacerbated it, and yet it's only made it more important. Marion spoke about keeping staff up to date and keeping them focused, facilitating their creativity. A colleague and a good friend had a great phrase when I was talking to her a few weeks ago: everyone is themselves during a crisis, only more so. And then Marion kind of suggested, people are feeling things that little bit more acutely. So people maybe aren't hearing in the way that we would normally expect them to hear. So makes it harder to get that message across, and it makes it more important to do so. It's very difficult to frame what is a horrendous global crisis as an opportunity. I think we need to be really, really cautious on that. But certainly you would hope that as part of the communication, our value is evident to everyone. And a few of the talks touched on that. And hopefully our value is clear to all of our stakeholders and paymasters and funders and so on. Our profession, in its broadest sense, one of the key hallmarks of it has always been collaboration. And the collaborative ethos has only become more important, very evident today. We've networks like the Library Association, IFLA, LIBR, and so on, that I've mentioned. And then also in less formal ways, we're helping each other. This ethos was kind of suffused throughout all the talks. And very importantly, it's not limited by profession. Makerspace, for example, the hacker community, publishers, aggregators, and it's not limited by region. learning from people in Australia, for example. So it really, I mean, it ties into something which wasn't really actually mentioned too much today, but is really important. Open access is an enabler for access for global citizens across the planet, and never more so in a time of such challenge. Creativity was mentioned, and we had wonderfully specific examples from Eileen and Marion and Joan and Helen, but it was a sense of it, I think, in all the presentations. From unlocking staff's creativity, which actually I think can often be constrained by the normal modes of working, you know, the things we always feel we have to do. And some of that has been kind of disrupted, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And that has afforded us the opportunity to provide really innovative responses to the crisis. And equally importantly, in some ways, it has really empowered staff. And we talk a lot about staff, you know, should be our most important resource. So let's use them as best we can and give them the freedom to come up with ideas. It was really, really heartening to hear this, and really heartening to see how well it's being supported in every way. And it seems like it's being supported in terms of funding, and hopefully it is. Hopefully the work outlined in examples like Sandra's and Helen's and Joan's can become a virtuous circle, empowering the users wherever they are. I mean, Helen had examples from India. And then finally, I suppose, from a thematic perspective, it was hard to ignore and very clear impediments. Copyright continues to stymie our ability to do much of what we were trying to do, and to do much of what was outlined today. How much easier it would have been if we didn't have this impediment. And, you know, people talk about the new normal, and maybe this new normal or new horizon might see copyright revised in a way that will allow us find a balance between supporting the needs of education in its broadest sense, without unduly compromising the intellectual property rights of the copyright holders. It clearly at the moment impedes our ability to facilitate events, our ability to curate content in all its different types. And in the case of the National Library, as Sandra shown, it impedes our ability to actually curate the national memory. What could be more important? A couple of other things for me in terms of closing this. The reality is that, you know, you can take all these themes that I've just mentioned out of any library conference. You know, they're not surprising to us. And that to me reinforces the point that what we do, it evolves, but what we do hasn't actually transformed. It's really what we're seeing is a very significant transition in what you might call, broadly speaking, the mode of delivery. You know, we do collaborate, we do help, we do offer services and events. How we do them has just changed. A couple of kind of final things maybe that they occurred to me personally as I was listening, and certainly not a comment on absences, but maybe a case of things we might merit consideration if we do more of this, is I certainly would love to have a clearer sense of the user's perspective. We talked today, broadly speaking, about what we do and what we are doing. You know, it's always a challenge for us to understand what they need, and to understand, are we actually kind of meeting them where they need to be? Are we giving them what they need? And one of the questions that might merit consideration is, has this become more difficult in this new virtual reality, or has it been easier? Another pertinent point, Aoife noted, this is our new world now, which is a tough pill to swallow. What does this mean for our services in the mid to long term? If we have spikes in the winter, if we're saying, for example, if we have a cold in November, stay at home and isolate in a way that maybe we mightn't have said before, how responsive will the services that we provide be to these challenges? What, I think it's been touched on, what does this all mean for training? If you take away the prohibitive cost of travel, does it become a more level playing field in terms of conference attendance or training? Or will the technology issues simply show a different type of limiter? Who will be excluded from our training or our attendance at conferences? Who will be excluded from our services and events in this kind of new milieu? One thing that was very evident was that the issue of social good was diffused again throughout all the talks. How do we manage to meet that challenge with these new and some old, but frequently very hidden challenges. Those are my thoughts. Hopefully they are of help. There's a couple of things that it falls to me to make a few thanks and express gratitude. Firstly, you guys, the participants and the speakers, brilliant, great contributions. Considering it was virtual, I thought there was a real, genuine, almost palpable sense of energy. As Carl said at the outset, people are going above and beyond, and people have done so even this morning. There's always people that make this happen, unsung heroes, so let's sing their praises. We have our chairs, Mary, Fiona, and Laura. And very importantly, Catherine Ferris, Mary Robinson, Laura Gallagher, and as ever, the indomitable Elaine Bean, who assisted in so many ways, and a lot of them we're probably not aware of. The fact that everything was so seamless means there's an awful lot going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. Finally, the genesis and the impetus for this is pretty much exclusively down to one person, our university librarian, Cathal McCauley. It really sticks in my craw to praise him. But he does genuinely inspire his staff every single day. And as ever, he's proven that he doesn't always just see where things are going, but sometimes he anticipates them. Hopefully we can all take his lead, and this will be the first of many of these events over the current crisis, because we've so much to learn from each other, and sometimes we may need to lean on each other to learn how best to serve our various different and disparate communities. That's it for me. As I said, lunch is not provided. You'll have to make it yourself. If somebody does and you're in the Maynooth region, please send it up to me as well, please. Thank you.